There's a moment you reach where chasing feels hollow. You've read the books, watched the charts, and subscribed to all of the how to build wealth advice. But something feels wrong, like you're optimizing your cage instead of stepping out of it. And then, one day, you make a different move. Now it's not dramatic, no fanfare, no flex, just a quiet click and a tiny amount of money leaves the fiat system forever. Now that's 0.01 worth of Bitcoin, 1 million Satoshis. Now on paper, it's nothing impressive, but in practice, well, that moment reshapes how you think, because it's not what you bought, it's what you stopped believing in. And that single act, storing outside of the system, rewires everything. And that's why I believe this small group of people, not whales, not VCs, just sovereigns with skin in the truth, will quietly run circles around the rest of the world in the decades ahead. Now, not because they got rich, but because they stopped being programmable. See, most people don't understand wealth, but because they're still trying to earn freedom from within a system that depends on their obedience. They follow the script, work harder, save more, invest in what Wall Street says is safe. But the entire model is built on external control loops. Now, media tells you what's risky, advisors tell you what's normal, and banks tell you what's yours. But here's the pivot. Real wealth begins when you stop needing their approval. Now, 0.01 worth of Bitcoin isn't a strategy. It's a signal to yourself that from this point forward, you're done waiting to be told how to move. Now, if you want to understand who wins in the 2030s, stop looking at portfolios and start looking at mental bandwidth, because the world is drowning in friction. Financial stress is the default, inflation is psychological war, and productivity is demanded but never rewarded with peace. See, most people will spend the next decade reacting to prices, policy, panic, but the 0.01 Bitcoin class, well, they're not playing by that game anymore. They're building with longer time horizons, lower time preference, and no need to sell to survive. And that's the real unlock. They don't check prices every day because they've already detached from the scoreboard. They don't need the market to go up because they've exited the yield-chasing treadmill entirely. They're no longer operating from fear because the foundation they're building on doesn't lie, inflate, or beg for bailouts. So let's go ahead and zoom out. Imagine two people. Person A has $10,000 in stocks, bonds, and a 401k, and person B has $1,000 in Bitcoin, self-custodied, with no sell plan. Now, who has more leverage? Most would say it's A. But watch how they behave. They check their portfolio weekly. They watch the Fed like it's religion, and they freak out when interest rates move. But B, well, B ignores it all. They're not worried about quarterly earnings. They're not praying for CPI data, because B isn't just storing money, they're storing conviction. And conviction buys peace. It frees up cognitive bandwidth, and that bandwidth, well, that's where real wealth is created, and in the form of clarity and not clicks. Now, there's a great filter happening right now. Now, not just economically, but psychologically. And the people who survive the next coming decade won't be the smartest. They'll be the ones who can hold a frame when the world tells them to panic. And Bitcoin, real Bitcoin, cold stored, self-custodied, is a psychological filter. Now, not everyone can hold it, because it doesn't flatter your emotions. It's volatile, it's misunderstood, it offers no yield, no dopamine, and no applause. It just sits there with truth. And the people who can hold truth without needing a reward every week, well, those people are lethal in the coming age. Because when everyone else is swinging for 10x returns, they're building something that doesn't need to move to win. Because here's the brutal truth that most people miss. Wealth isn't a number, it's a ratio between what you control and what you need. And once you exit the system, even just partially, your needs shrink, your stress dissolves, and your moves become surgical. And the 0.01 Bitcoin Club understands this. Now, not because they're rich, but because they stopped measuring themselves by systems they didn't design. Now, they're not trying to beat inflation. They're not trying to retire at 65. They're not playing the game. They're building a new one in real time and beneath the radar. Now, you don't need to be early to win. You just need to be clear. Clear about where the system ends and where your life begins. Clear about what you're optimizing for, and clear about what you're no longer willing to outsource. And that's what owning 0.01, 1 million Satoshis really is. A signal of clarity. Now, not price prediction, not crypto moon math, just quiet, sovereign clarity. And in a world addicted to noise, that is the rarest asset of all. So what's now? Well, nothing flashy. Just check yourself and ask, do I still believe I need their system to win, or am I finally ready to build wealth without asking? Now, you don't need 10 Bitcoin. You don't need to trade. You don't need to convince anyone. You just need to stop waiting, because the 0.01 Bitcoin Club isn't trying to go viral. They're just living in the future, quietly, and while the rest of the world keeps waiting for permission. And by the time they catch on, well, the game will already be over. Now, I quickly want to chuck this in here as well. I have something that you might want to check out. It's called They Print, You Lose. Now, this is an ebook, but if you scroll all the way down to the bottom of this little sales page, you'll also find a link to the paperback and hardcover over on Amazon. Now, I do also have to chuck this disclaimer in here as well, and I highly suggest just pausing the video and having a little read. Now, if you've made it this far, and if you're looking for something else to watch, then click right here and have a watch of this.